Well, a very good evening, everyone. Thank you, Greg. Welcome, kia ora. And it almost makes you feel like you want to jump on a plane, go straight to the airport and go and stay in one of your wonderful hotels.
Which is what I'll be doing soon.
That's right. Gavin, welcome. It's a real pleasure to have you here, and welcome to Straight Talk, and thank you for your time. I'm always interested in creating some context about, where people started out to get to where they are today. So I'd like to start by taking you back to your time at Waitara High School in Taranaki. And there was a nice quote that I found in the National Business Review, and I see Neville Gibson here tonight with us. It said, "For a freezing worker, you've done rather well." Because you did start out in the freezing works, didn't you?
That's the way I had to pay my university fees, yes. So yeah, I'm a freezing worker and a car park attendant.
Were some early lessons there for you in understanding that business, or was that a motivator in deciding that you had to find another career pathway?
Well, it didn't help my language. If you ever work in the freezing works, but it learns you to get on with people at all levels, and yes, it was exciting to just hear what they're doing, and made you decide you had to do something else. Yeah.
Were you motivated as a child? Were you one of these, ambitious young people who was going to forge a path to success from a young age?
I don't know. You have to ask my brothers.
All the whole family almost with us on the front row here as well too.
I think they'd all say that I started doing business when I was probably 10 years old. From making money out of mowing lawns to starting a sort of a commercial life. We all started a commercial life in the Four Square business, grocery shops, just like Maggie Thatcher. And that's where we learned how to do business and communicate and handle people.
So you decided to become a chartered accountant. You packed your bags. You moved to that well-known university.
No, my mother decided I'd become.
Oh, your mother decided. Right, okay. So you packed your bags. You headed to that other well-known university in Wellington, and then you gained your qualification, and then you jumped on a plane and you went to Hong Kong. Why the decision to go to Hong Kong? Because I found that intriguing in 1973, when generally everybody was beating a path to London.
Well, I was reading the Dominion, and there was this advertisement for a job in Hong Kong as a chartered accountant, and the airfares were free. So I couldn't resist, and also all my other friends went to London. You go to university together. I started off working for EY in Wellington, and so you're working with the people you studied with, and I thought, well, let's do something different, and this opportunity in Hong Kong. I wasn't even quite sure where Hong Kong was, but this is 1973. I jumped on a plane and headed north.
What was your reaction when you got there?
Well, it's hard to explain. We landed in a typhoon, as you do in Hong Kong. We stopped off in Indonesia on our way, and that was another shock to the system, with just the number of people, the excitement, and so on our way there we went to Indonesia, Singapore, and Bangkok. So it wasn't such a cultural shock, but just the magnitude, the speed, and just the excitement of working with a huge firm, coming from a very small firm. It was just unbelievable.
And one of those clients that you were assigned to was Peter Gauci, of course, who was running at that time the Peninsula Hotel. Mm-hmm. And when you met him, did you realise that the influence that he was going to subsequently be in your life, the major influence?
Not really. He was the big guru of hotel business. And I joined the Peninsula Group, which was a client of KPMG. And this is what happens if your clients take the staff from the audit team. And he was a very larger-than-life person, and of course was developing this company called the Peninsula Group. So it's and right from the start, he and I got on very well, because you can see the hotel industry is backed by the Swiss business people. That's where it started from, a real international Swiss business. And I was the only non-Swiss, and sort of, I'd go into meetings and they'd all have to stop speaking Swiss German, just for me, and they also made that point.
What did he teach you? What were his values? What did you take from that early association with him that may have embedded itself in your psyche subsequently?
Well, he showed you can do anything. He developed the Peninsula Hotel, which is one of the hotels of the world. We developed hotels in the Philippines and in Singapore, and he had this. Nothing was impossible, and that's really what life's about. If nothing's impossible, you can achieve whatever you're after. And he's a very motivational person. He spoke. You didn't need a telephone to talk to him because he was so loud. and he literally shake the room. Literally.
And was it then that you started to conceive this idea that maybe the hotel business might be a business that you could end up in yourself?
It's hard. I can't lie too much in front of my family, but it's opportunities come, and it was just that by the time I was 31, I was head of the finance division of Peninsula Group, which was exciting, and just, as I said, opportunities came up, and that's also how I developed coming back to New Zealand to the hotel business. Was just a lucky phone call, a lucky contact, and someone says, "Hey, do you want to try something?" And I was told someone, there's opportunities out there all the time. Doesn't matter what state the world's in, what state the economy's in. There's always an opportunity.
And then we fast forward up to the age of 34. You get approached, and you become the chief executive of Kingsgate, a publicly listed company with 20 hotels. And I understand you once described the experience as absolutely terrifying. Did you really know what you were doing, or you were just making it up as you went along?
I had no idea. I was actually introduced to the owners of the Kingsgate and Hyatt chain for Australia and New Zealand by a New Zealand banker, a gentleman called John Rose, and I went to visit these people in Singapore with no intention of anything. Just there was this an opportunity, and then I got a phone call 2 months later saying, "Hey, would you like this job?" And yes, I came to. I had no idea what I was doing. It was my first public company. I was a CEO at 34. I had 20 hotels in New Zealand. The company was, I've got to be careful, one of my ex-bankers is here, but the company was literally bankrupt. It was in negative cash flow, and so it was exciting times, and we're building hotels, and we couldn't pay our bills, the Fletchers, and the story goes on, and then we turned it into something which worked.
What was your strategy at that time? It's a strategy of survival, obviously. But what was your thinking about what you were working to day?
Well, it was just really to bring a team together, bring the people together. I don't know if people remember the Hyatt in 1983. The service was so bad, it was unbelievable. So, you sat, it was just unbelievable, And so I would eat with the staff and try and get close to them. It was not easy. And of course, those were the days of unionism. And I had, the porter would sit down, he's the head of the union, tell me how I should run the hotel. He probably knew more than I did, but
you weren't going to let him know that.
I wasn't going to let him know that. So it was real challenging times, but exciting.
How did you manage staff motivation, for instance, at that time?
You just have to be open and honest, and do what they do. Make beds. I've made beds in the old Hyatt. When they went on strike, we made the beds, and they sort of start looking at you and say, "Hey, this guy is one of us," and he's here to make it, better. So it's really, it's just like playing a game of rugby. You just get beside them and say, hey. And it takes time. It takes time, and I always say there's no bad staff. It's just bad management. Mm. It's always the management. The staff can't blame the staff. You can only blame the management. And slowly, we turned things around and started making money. Floated off another public company. Enjoyed the share market boom of 1985, 86, and 87.
And then cried when it ended.
And cried when it ended, and Neville Gibson wrote it off in 1990.
And then talk about 1990. Peter Gauci then makes you an offer to join what he described as a little hotel company. Was there any hesitation on your part when he offered you the chance to join him in what was, or what is, of course, potentially one of the most competitive sectors in the world?
Well, it was a tricky decision, but I decided I wanted to look at doing things for myself or looking at business opportunities. So I was in Singapore and I flew to Hong Kong and had a coffee with him. And he said, "Do you want to join me?" I said, "Well, sure, but I don't want to live in Hong Kong." He said, "Well, how can you work for me if you don't want to live in Hong Kong?" So I said, "I'll give you 3 weeks a month." And I said, in 3 weeks I can do what anybody can do in a month. And that's how we started. And so I used to fly in on a Sunday night and leave 20 days later on a Thursday night. And you are forced to do things. And this is one of the problems I see where sometimes we're not forced to hit the timelines. Mm. And so he said, "Okay, let's have a go." And I said, "I don't know whether it's going to work." So I worked for the first 3 months for nothing. I said, "I work for you for nothing to see if it works." Mm-hmm. And that's also takes pressure off you, and you concentrate on doing a successful job. And of course that gave me another week a month back in New Zealand to think about other ideas, and that's how I thought about other opportunities.
How did you feel at the end of that 3 months?
There was no hesitation. It just kept going, and I think we got a mutual respect for each other, and there was 2 or 3 others in the company, and away we went. And it's I had no hesitation at all. It was just that, hey, this is going to work. And I said, okay, I'll do it I told my family I'd do it for 2 or 3 years. And 30 years later, I'm still doing it.
Give us a sense of your vision at that time. What were you seeking to achieve? Because this is an enormously competitive sector, accommodation. You'd think that every niche was taken. Why did you think then that you could enter that market and still come up with a winning?
Well, of course. I mean, you're sleeping next door to China. Hong Kong is 3 to 4 hours flight from 75% of the world's population. If you take India, and you've got 2,000 million people who've never had a holiday. So there's no risk of business. There's only risk of your own stupidity or getting the product wrong or managing it wrong. And there's plenty of room for everybody. And so I don't think I could be that arrogant to say I had a vision. My life was I sort of say a series of accidents or opportunities. Just like my mother telling me to be an accountant.
I understand, though, you did identify the idea of going into what one might describe as second-tier markets to think about a particular strategy of going into areas that might not otherwise be serviced.
Yes, the Peninsula Group is 6-star, 5 to 6-star business, and that is hard because the guests there are very demanding and you can't make mistakes. 4-star business, as long as you almost get it right, you're okay.
There's a higher tolerance factor.
High tolerance rate. And of course, that's where the growth is. And I tell people, if you want to do market research, just walk up and down an aeroplane. First class is getting smaller, economy is getting bigger. So there's your story. And that's why I go to 4-3 in budget hotel business. That's where it's going to happen. That's where it's going to happen.
What was your approach? Were you working with developers? How did you create this association? Because you were looking for some fairly fast growth fairly quickly.
Well, Peter Gauci had great connections, and it's just a matter of networking. This is I'm always on the telephone. I'm always talking to people, even if they don't listen to me. But it's just looking for opportunities, and it's not that difficult. When I opened up in Dubai, I just got off the plane, and with a suitcase and started talking to people. And I found one of the top general managers of the biggest hotel in Dubai was my banquet manager in the Hyatt 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And then it just goes on from there. You get introductions, you meet developers, you meet owners. And it's exciting. You make lots of mistakes. But
So this idea of networking had always been an important part of
critical.
Your DNA.
Sure, you have to. I mean, my father was a networker. My brothers are networkers. So that's what it's all about. It's just people. And it's just part of your DNA, correct.
And I understand another one of your strategies was that you followed the airlines. You said the airlines were always ahead of the game in terms of knowing where to be. So you were trailing in behind wherever they would sort of be.
Yeah, well, see, I would sit in the hotel we were managing in Jakarta, and I'd meet all these air crew, the male ones mainly, but the air crew, and I'd talk to them, and I met the Emirates, I met Etihad, and suddenly you find out where all the businesses.
So you conducted your own market research.
Sure. Well, all I want to do is follow Emirates airline.
Right.
When I tell people that Emirates flies 4 380s to New Zealand every day. Yeah. It sounds crazy, to this little island down here. And if you look at Emirates Airlines, and Cathay Pacific, that's where the business is. So you don't have to do any research. It's sitting there waiting,
And in fact, these days, you fly on Emirates and you talk the whole way, don't you?
I'm unfortunate for my staff, is that because Emirates now has Wi-Fi, and you can talk on your phone and your computer.
I understand, just as an aside, the first time you tried this, though, you were asking the flight attendant every 3 minutes to reassure you about the charges.
It was a 15-hour flight, and I ended up working for 15 hours, and I thought I would go bankrupt by that. They assured me it's not a problem. It was only $80, so. But it's just, and also, it's the fun of working.
Yeah.
It's my staff won't travel with me, because they're not allowed to sleep because I'm sitting sideways, so they refuse to fly with me.
Talking about your staff, I understand your staff, if we go back to the Asian financial crisis in 97, 98, 99, I understand your staff ended up living in one particular hotel during the worst of the crisis. In fact, things were so bad, and occupancy, I think, was down at about 5%. You were having to pay them in rice. To stay.
If you look at all the secrets. Yes, the Hotel Jakarta, the riots started, and my friend Heather knows all about it. They started in the early 90s. The exchange rate of the rupee went from 2,500 to 16,500 in 3 months. There's cars burning in the car park. It was a real disaster, and so the staff had to live in the hotel. We had no money. Most companies were bankrupt. As I said, we paid the staff the rice. We recruited the army. The army lived in the car park basement of the hotel to protect the hotel. And it was real, challenging times for a hotel, which I know there's someone from Becker Carter here tonight, but was built by Becker Carter. And you talk about networking. So Ron Carter was a friend of the developer, And Peter Gauchi was a friend of the developer, and the three of us got together and built a hotel, and Becca Carter designed it and supervised it. So two little New Zealanders helped in development of Jakarta.
Were you worried at that point that you were going to survive?
No, you learn how to, just like the dairy farmers learning how to live today, you just have to be very, very careful. You don't spend until you have a dollar, and you look at every cost, and in fact, it's much easier to manage in a crisis. To manage in a boom time is very hard, because people get lazy, they get sloppy, you waste money, you think nothing will fail. But managing during a crisis is simple, because there's only one word, and it's no. You know, if everyone wants to do something, I say, well, no. You know, and that also, you know, brings the team together.
What struck me in the research for the interview was your skills as a people person, your ability to empathise very closely with your staff, as we've already alluded to. And in an interview that you gave to the Jakarta Post in 2013, you said this: the excitement of local people when companies believe in their economic potential is priceless. We are very involved and very personal when it comes to our relationship with local folks. What have you learnt in your career in terms of that idea of how you empathetically work in communities to drive the outcomes, the value propositions that you're looking for?
Well, you have to remember I come from Waitara. So I come from a small village. And so working in underdeveloped areas in Indonesia, in China, working in secondary cities is much easier than the big fancy cities. And this is what makes it so exciting, because the hotel industry brings jobs for everybody. And in lots of cases it brings jobs for people who've never had a job, they've never had a future, they're not educated. And until the tourism industry starts, they actually have no future. And that's the exciting thing, to bring some... to bring jobs to the people, the economies, the families. I used to know all their families, but not anymore. Obviously, it was too big. But you know, when I go to places like Jayapura in Indonesia, these little villages and these and people, they've got a uniform for the first time in their lives. They've got food for the first time in their lives. It's really fascinating. And I remember sitting at the opening of our hotel in Jayapura, that's in Papua, and I was sitting beside this gentleman. I said, and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm the publican." And he said, "Well, I'm the Archbishop." And he was a Roman Catholic Archbishop, but he was there in his casual clothes. It was just and you never get that. You don't get that in New York. No. You don't get that in London.
Is that what drives you? Is that important to you?
I think so, but it's just part of the fabric and life of business. The main thing that drives me is because people say I'll fail, or you can never achieve it, or you can't do it, and that's when I feel I can. When they say you can do it, I get scared, because you know.
Right.
But what drives me is that you know, a lot of people won't have a go. Won't say, "Hey, look, you know, let's try something."
Let's talk about some of the influences on the business. You know, pricing, of course, and the idea of technology. What if all of these sites that can discount? How difficult is it to manage yield in the hotel business these days, when everybody's trying to put the ticket along the way?
It's a total battle. But the guest tells you what he's going to pay these days, and this is why. It's a challenge. So you have to, rooms are like on the stock market. You can just go through and find the cheapest rate, the cheapest price of anywhere in the world. It takes two minutes. But that's also why it's exciting that I've grown my company, because I could never do it. I could never compete with Hyatt or Sheraton on the international scene if it wasn't for these three things here, which is, my New Zealand phone, my international phone, and my business cards. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And then this here is 10 times as big as the first computer I had for an 800-room hotel.
Yeah.
And this is just a huge change. And you don't have to tell people where you are because you're there, you're everywhere. So the internet is amazing, and that also makes it very easy to, well, not easy, but it allows you to compete.
It's changed the game, fundamentally. It's changed your business, and one assumes that many of your business models actually couldn't operate without.
Impossible, yeah.
Exists.
Without an internet platform, without the website business, we couldn't survive. You couldn't. The business just would not develop.
Let's talk a bit about innovation, because it's the other buzzword at the moment. Of course, how do you approach innovation? We're going to look shortly at another video of your latest offering, but tell us about how you approach this idea of spotting new opportunities, new gaps in the market that you think that you can fill.
Well, the biggest thing is you have to learn. You have to be willing to learn. A lot of people won't change. I mean, hotel business is very conservative, and so when I hear something, I go and have a look at it. Or I was 3 weeks ago, I flew to Amsterdam just for a day, just to have a look at a hotel there, which is called Citizen M. Amazing hotel, and it's all automatic check-in. It's the bedrooms are 17, 20 square meters. The bed touches the wall on 3 sides, but it was jumping. So it's really intimate.
Depending on what your definition of intimate is.
My wife's there, I was by myself, okay? Even though it was Amsterdam.
Right.
But the toilet is in the bedroom.
Wow.
And it's in the middle of the bedroom, literally. And it has screens which come around, so it's like a cylinder. The shower is also in the middle of the bedroom, and you just close the...
What's the rate?
I got it for free.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have got it for free, but what's everybody else paying?
Well, I'm sure that they'll be paying 150 US.
Right.
But it was amazing, just the whole, and the lobby was the bar and the restaurant and all together, and conference rooms. It was just, and it's just a bunch of young guys. They've already got 20 hotels which they own, and it's what the people want.
So, would you describe yourself as a customer-driven business, or do you like to set the tone and the style, and then hope the customers are engaging?
No, you have to be customer-driven, otherwise you die. The customer is always right. The person who's paying is right every time. So if the guest is paying, they're the boss. I tell my staff, I'm paying, I'm the boss. And once you learn that, life is easy. But when you get it the wrong way around, you're in trouble.
I never fill in those things that they leave in the hotel room.
Guest questionnaires.
Yeah, and I think that the problem is, I think that the only people who ever fill them in are the people who want to complain, are they? So
or want a free room, yeah.
Yeah, want a free room. That's right. In return, how do you measure your customer satisfaction? How do you equate what you're delivering to what their expectations are?
It's very hard because I think guest questionnaires are a waste of time, because the guest will walk. I've never filled one out. I'm not going to help another hotel chain anyway. But but the TripAdvisor is amazing system, and
that really determines.
That really determines, and that is the most powerful system in the world, and it's so simple.
So how do you monitor? Or did you have people monitoring your social media?
Well, my son's the VP for IT, and there's a system which and TripAdvisor is not the only system, and don't ask me to explain, it's too complicated for me, but we
employ people to do that.
We have a software system which will pick up all the comments about our hotels on all these social media, and then feed it back in, and then there's another company who will take all that for us and analyse and give ratings, and that's how we judge the hotels. So that is also very easy.
And you get a report on your desk every Monday or something?
I wish I did, but I ask for it. I don't seem to get it very often. But my team are doing that all the time, and the good managers just pick it up. And TripAdvisor is an amazing system because we get lots of complaints also. But if you answer the complaint properly, the actual TripAdvisor will reevaluate your score, and so you actually neutralise the complaint. And that's the whole thing in life. If you fix things which aren't working, that's what people remember.
Let's have a look at your latest hotel offering. This is your new product, Zest.
Zest Hotels, fresh and exciting. A new era in hotel design and management. Zest Hotels are now a reality. Crafted to meet the strong market demands of today's mobile and budget-conscious business traveller. Zest Hotels are opening in major city centres, traffic hubs and popular tourist destinations. Modern, minimalistic and uniquely straightforward. A comfort and function balance quite unique to the Zest brand. Zest is a built from the ground up international hotel product and the rising star in the very successful Swiss-Belhotel International Group. Zest, simply the best.
I love the idea of all-inclusive pricing because nothing irritates me more than checking out when somebody wants to charge me $8 for the Wi-Fi or something like that. So clearly you've gone and understood your market and you've developed that. What were the drivers behind where you saw an opportunity for Zest?
Well, see, with Swiss-Belhotel, we're a hotel brand, but I tell people you'll feel Swiss-Belhotel, you won't see it. And when you go to the Hiltons and the Shangri-Las, they're all very similar. So that was one of my business niches to get with developers who want to build their hotel. Then we saw the market for the 17 square metre room, $25 a night business, and that is really moving fast. So we've designed Zest Hotels, and it's the colour, everything. You cannot change anything. It's just all cookie cutter. And things like the word Zest. I spent 3 months trying to work out a hotel group name. I couldn't work out how to do it. So I was at a sales and marketing fair with my staff. So I said, I'll give you a free trip to Australia if someone comes up with a name. Some guy came up with the name Zest. So the name cost me $2,000. and we just built it from there. We opened our first one last week just outside in Bogor, outside in Jakarta, and we're going to open 15 in Indonesia, and then we're middle of this year I'm setting up a team looking to Australia and China and New Zealand hopefully, and there we really want to get up to 100 or 200 hotels.
Are there any more gaps in the market that you see, or do you think you've just about filled them all by now?
There's always gaps. There's always competition as people change, but the budget business is coming back. If you remember, 20 years ago, budget airlines all went bankrupt. Now budget airlines are taking off. So there's always opportunities. And
that's a matter, obviously, of keeping pace with the customer and understanding that those value propositions as they change.
See, all the young students these days, or young people, they prefer to spend $25 on an international, comfortable hotel. They don't want big rooms. and they prefer to spend $50 on a bottle of wine and having a good meal. Or even more than that sometimes. So they have a different value. And as I tell people, when your eyes are closed, you don't know how big the room is, do you, when you're sleeping?
All right, I want to move now just to start to wrap up. In about 7:30, about 15 minutes, we'll turn the questions over to the audience. I want to move down to your agricultural interest, because there's really two parts to you, isn't it? There's the hotel operation, but there's also your significant footprint in agriculture. And I want to just play this next video, which will look at.
This 1,150 cow year-round milking operation on 371 hectares at Tikarangi, just inland from Waitara, was described by the award judges as a strong example of dairying and what can be achieved. Currently, the farm comprises a 282-hectare milking platform and 4 nearby runoffs totaling 89 hectares. Contour is flat with some easy sidelings. Targeted production this season is 540,000 kilograms of milk solids. Gavin Faull took over management of this property's original block, the 40-hectare family farm, in 1990. Although his adult life and work has never seen him working the property, the farm clearly represents a heritage important to him, and an industry and region he is hugely committed to. There have been Falls on this land since 1867. The business has grown under Gavin and continues to do so, explains one of his 3 sons, Oliver, an Auckland-based accountant for extensive family interests. It is part of the Faull family and always will be, says Oliver of the land. Right from the start, he had the vision to create an economically and environmentally sustainable business out of it, rather than just a small farm. Tony and Loie Penwarden began share milking here with 540 cows in 2004. Now they put 850 spring calving cows and 300 autumn calving cows through the high-tech 60-bale rotary shed with their team of 4 full-time staff and 6 permanent part-timers. The shed has added extras like a viewing platform, a reception room and bathroom facilities. The old cow shed has been converted into an automatic calf rearing complex with computer-controlled feeding system. The original Faull homestead has only the chimney remaining, but the area, including a stand of large puriri trees, is a focus for the Faull family. They have a tradition of marking significant family events like births or marriages by gathering together to plant kauri amongst the puriri. Judges' comments. 2 businesses combining effectively to service aspirations of both. Happy working environment for staff. Successful use of new technology and implementation of excellent systems. Significant contribution to community by all partners. Excellent progress on planting, backed by long-term management plan.
And that was the video from your award last year, the Balance Supreme Award winner. I understand this year's awards are on tonight.
They're on tonight, yeah, we should do that, yeah.
You have to pass over your trophy, but it's a huge operation, 371 hectares of land, you're milking 1,300 cows, $2.4 million state-of-the-art super shed complex, which I understand even has its own viewing theatre as part of it as well too. I wondered how you're feeling about the 9.6% fall in the whole milk powder price over the last 24 hours.
Well, that move was made at $8 a kg, and now it's $4.50.
Yeah.
So it's a bit, but that's the roller coaster life of dairy farming. No, it's not good at the moment. But yeah.
Tell us a bit more about the association with the dairy sector, which obviously has been a long.
Well, my brothers and I, we all grew up on the dairy farm. We didn't actually farm it because my father was a four-square grocer. So it's a family thing, and as it says, we're 5th or 6th generation now, and it belongs to all of us. Doesn't matter who owns it. Well, to be quite honest, it's actually owned by B and Z, but. So it doesn't matter who owns it. It's part of the land. No one owns the land. You just got the right of passage while you're alive. And so the thing is to bring them to a sustainable operation. And it was only 100 acres. And this was where I spent the other week when I came back home for that week from Hong Kong. I started thinking about the dairy business. And my parents said you can never sell a family farm. So the only thing to do was to try and make it work or make it sustainable. So that's how we started, and you know, as it says, we use it as our sort of the focus of our family. All my brothers, my 4 brothers, it's our focus.
I wonder what your thoughts are more generally on the dairy sector at the moment, and particularly given your wide and varied association with Asia, the growing opportunities obviously that China presents for the dairy sector, while also ensuring that you know we manage that growth appropriately. As somebody with a very large stake in this business, what are you thinking at a more macro level about where that sector is sitting at the moment?
Well, my thinking's on a roller coaster also, because you know Fonterra's had their challenges, and which is any business has their challenges. You know, it's how you handle your challenges. The future is unbelievable because there's just such a huge food requirement in China and India, and they need, and milk is probably the most flexible food product in the world. Mm-hmm. So if it doesn't work, it's because we're not handling it right. So I have no worries or hesitation about the investment in the business. You just have to make it work.
Fonterra has long talked about, though, how it needs to move itself up the value chain. We still export everything in the form of milk powder, and it's all been about supposedly finding these opportunities in the future. Do you think that we're moving, or Fonterra is moving quickly enough in that area?
That's a tricky question. I don't think we're never moving fast enough. And Fonterra is so big now, it actually is having challenges to handle itself. I mean, management is a huge challenge, and I don't think we're moving up the value chain at all at the speed we should be. We're still 75% of our exports are milk powder, and if we don't value add, it's like any business. If this university doesn't start value adding, which is what it's doing with its business schools, it can't stay alive. If it just teaches the same basic things of 30 or 40 years ago, so we have to value add, and I think one of the things, you know, New Zealand has the most amazing products, amazing airlines, amazing tourism business. We're sometimes a little bit weak on really marketing like we should.
What about that process? Who drives that process? I mean, the farmer shareholders obviously are the ones that, you know, as a co-op own the business. Is there enough of a drive in that? I mean, if they apply the sort of drive that you've applied to your hotel business, Fonterra would presume to be a very different organisation today.
I'm not sure. The farmer is feeling a little bit isolated because we're just a production unit, and we just hope and pray that we get the right price. We're now selling on auction system, so we're into the roller coaster. So like hotel rooms, we're selling milk now on the internet, and we've still got a lot to learn there. We're not valuating like we should, and it's very hard for a production firm to also be a marketing firm. I think they're developing opportunities, but not fast enough. I mean, you have to look at Nestle to start with, a great marketing company, and that's all they do is market, mm-hmm. and value add, and that's what we should do. So we've concentrated too much on production and not enough on the customer.
I just want to wrap up and conclude with a few sort of quick fire questions to conclude. In your bio notes, you say that you are concerned by the huge depreciation of New Zealand's relative wealth compared to our Asian neighbours. How do you believe we should be addressing that issue?
If I knew, I'd be Prime Minister. And I saw John Key this morning, and he was amazing. I was absolutely amazed with the way he's performing at the moment. Wealth is a funny thing. You can't. It's judged by dollars as always, but you know we're a global economy, and the world is not. It's not a level playing field, and so it's a big question. But you know, I have a home loan in Hong Kong, and I have a home loan in New Zealand. In Hong Kong I pay 1%, and in New Zealand I pay 6%. So immediately there's And the capital growth in Hong Kong is amazing. Although, you know, Auckland is also a bit crazy. Auckland's become like Hong Kong. The property prices are going up at 25% a year, which also actually depreciates your wealth, because it's only paper money.
In terms of the political landscape at the moment, if somebody with a long association with politics in this country, how do you're obviously, as you say, you're impressed with John Key, but what else are you making of the political landscape at the moment?
Everybody's so happy here. I mean, everyone's so satisfied, and I've never seen a political environment where there's no dissension. I spent a lot of time in Australia, obviously in Indonesia and the Middle East, and there's total dissension everywhere. This is just a unique situation, and I think, you know, it's the most stable country in the world at the moment. So politically, we seem to be going in the right direction. Are we developing our depth? I'm not sure. Is our population growing fast enough? Definitely not. You know, the age group, looking around the room here, it's the age of average dairy farmer now is 58 years old. It's too old. There's not the young people driving through the system, and that's what drives the future. I mean, China's nothing special. They are amazing, but, you know, when 65% of their people are under 30, the powerhouse is just there, whether it's having kids or eating.
We talked before the start. Yeah, we talked about before the start of this this idea of the war for talent that's around at the moment. Are we doing enough to retain and cultivate our talent in this country, do you think?
Well, talent is now global, and which is, and I was talking to someone earlier tonight when you think of someone like Claudia Batten, amazing person, and she said she just had to get out of New Zealand to do what she wanted to do. How do we bring these people back? You can't really bring them back, but how can we bring them back into the system? I love flying, so I'm overseas and live in New Zealand, so I think I'm bringing the two systems together. How do we get things to be global? I think we can get people living in New Zealand and working in the world, and that's something unique. You know, we're classified as the best country in the world to live in by all surveys. So somehow we have to bring that sense in, you know, and flying to Hong Kong for 10 hours is nothing. Because it used to take me 10 hours to go by rail car from New Plymouth to Wellington to go to university. So it's all, and most people in this room spend more time travelling than I do because they sit in traffic. I can sit with a Chardonnay and
Just finally, to wrap up, if you know, those that are here starting out and starting out on their career journey, what's the most important lesson that you've learnt in your long and extensive time in business? What do you reflect on as the essence of what everybody setting off on your journey should be realising or thinking about?
Well, success only comes from hard work, and that's key. Don't listen to negative people. Never seek advice from somebody who's not successful or running their own business, and just believe in what you're doing. Be prepared to lose money, make mistakes, fall over, but always get up and go. And it is difficult, it's never impossible.
And there's one final anecdote I have to share. Your favourite hotel is the Peninsula Hotel in Hong Kong, which we've talked about where you worked at, but you've never actually stayed there yourself. You said the prices are too expensive.
Too expensive.
More than $25 a night.
Yeah, it's more than $25 a night, yes.
So you'll stick to that?
I'll stay there one day.
Yeah.
I'm saving up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gavin Faull.